You may not notice it at first because the shift is subtle, almost invisible, like a quiet shadow creeping across your thoughts, but there comes a moment when you begin to question your own memory, your own judgment, even your own sanity, and that moment is not an accident, but the result of something far more deliberate and calculated than you ever imagined. Because gaslighting does not begin with loud lies or obvious manipulation. It begins with small denials, slight contradictions, and gentle distortions that seem harmless on the surface, yet slowly reshape your perception of reality until you are no longer sure what is true and what is not. And the most dangerous part is that it often comes from someone you trust, someone whose words you once accepted without hesitation, someone who gradually teaches you to doubt yourself while appearing calm, rational, and even caring, which creates a powerful internal conflict that traps you in a cycle of confusion and dependence, because every time you feel certain about something, they introduce doubt. Every time you try to stand firm, they gently pull the ground from beneath you, and over time, your confidence erodes without you realizing it, leaving you more vulnerable to their influence. And as this pattern continues, you begin to rely on them not just for validation, but for your sense of reality itself, which is exactly where they want you. Because once you reach that point, they no longer need to control you directly. Your own uncertainty does the work for them. And what makes this even more unsettling is how normal it can feel in the beginning, how easily it blends into everyday conversations, how it disguises itself as concern, correction, or misunderstanding, making it incredibly difficult to recognize until the effects have already taken hold. And by then, you may find yourself apologizing for things you did not do, second-guessing decisions you were once confident in, and feeling an unexplained sense of guilt or inadequacy that seems to have no clear origin, yet continues to grow. And this is where the true power of gaslighting reveals itself, not in dramatic confrontations, but in quiet, persistent influence that reshapes your inner world piece by piece, until the line between truth and illusion becomes so blurred that you begin to lose trust in the one person you should always rely on, yourself. And that is the moment when manipulation transforms into control, when your reality is no longer entirely your own, but a version carefully rewritten by someone else. As the manipulation deepens, the patterns begin to repeat with unsettling precision, yet they remain just subtle enough to escape immediate detection, creating a psychological maze where every path seems uncertain and every conclusion feels unreliable, because gaslighting thrives on repetition disguised as coincidence, where phrases like, "you're overreacting," "that never happened," or "you're imagining things" are used not as isolated comments, but as consistent tools designed to chip away at your certainty. And over time, these phrases begin to echo in your mind even when the manipulator is not present, reinforcing the false narrative they have carefully constructed. And what makes this phase particularly dangerous is the growing sense of isolation that accompanies it. Because as you start to doubt your own perspective, you may hesitate to share your experiences with others, fearing that they too might dismiss or misunderstand you, which quietly cuts you off from external validation and support, leaving you even more dependent on the very person distorting your reality. And in this state, the manipulator gains a deeper level of influence, often shifting between kindness and criticism in a way that keeps you emotionally off balance, rewarding your compliance with warmth while punishing your resistance with confusion or denial. And this unpredictable cycle creates a powerful emotional attachment that can feel impossible to break, because you are not just seeking truth anymore, you are seeking relief from the discomfort they have created, and every attempt to regain clarity is met with further distortion, making you question not only specific events, but your overall ability to perceive and interpret the world accurately. And this is where the suspense intensifies, because the more you try to make sense of what is happening, the more tangled everything becomes, until you find yourself standing at a crossroads where nothing feels solid, where even your strongest memories seem fragile, and where the line between trust and deception becomes dangerously thin, And in that moment, a quiet realization begins to form, a subtle awareness that something is deeply wrong, yet still difficult to fully grasp, because the manipulation has been so gradual, so carefully layered, that unraveling it feels like trying to wake up from a dream you cannot quite escape. And this realization marks a critical turning point, because although the confusion remains, a small part of you begins to resist, to question not yourself, but the narrative you have been given. And that small shift, almost imperceptible at first, holds the potential to break the cycle, even as the manipulator continues their efforts to pull you back into doubt and control. That small shift in awareness, fragile yet persistent, becomes the beginning of your return to clarity. Because once you start questioning the narrative imposed on you, you begin to reclaim the authority over your own thoughts. And although the process is not immediate or easy, it carries a quiet strength that grows with each moment of recognition, as you slowly learn to separate your authentic experiences from the distortions that were planted in your mind. And this is where the path to breaking free truly begins. Not with confrontation, but with internal validation, with the deliberate decision to trust your perceptions again, even when doubt still lingers in the background. Because rebuilding that trust requires patience and consistency, and it often starts with small steps like documenting events, reflecting on conversations, and comparing patterns over time, which allows you to see the manipulation more clearly and objectively. And as this clarity increases, the manipulator's tactics begin to lose their power, because gaslighting relies heavily on your confusion to survive. And when that confusion starts to fade, their influence weakens, revealing the predictable nature of their behavior. And this realization can be both empowering and unsettling, because it forces you to confront the truth about the dynamic you have been part of. Yet it also gives you the tools to change it. And one of the most important tools is setting firm mental and emotional boundaries, where you no longer accept every claim or denial without question, but instead evaluate it against your own understanding, your own memory, and your own sense of reality. And alongside this, seeking external perspectives from trusted individuals can help ground your experiences, providing reassurance that your perceptions are valid and not as distorted as you were led to believe. And through this process, your confidence gradually rebuilds, not as it once was, but stronger, more aware, and less vulnerable to manipulation, because you have seen firsthand how easily reality can be reshaped and how important it is to protect your sense of self. And as you continue to move forward, the fear that once held you back begins to dissolve, replaced by a steady sense of control over your own thoughts and emotions. And this transformation marks the end of the manipulator's hold over you, not because they have changed, but because you have. Because you now recognize the patterns, the phrases, and the intentions behind them, and you refuse to let them define your reality any longer. And in that decision lies true freedom, the freedom to think clearly, to trust yourself, and to live without the constant weight of doubt. And if you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early.